why that cut out so fast. You still with white tighties? Says, what's up, Tim? Not much, man. Just running super behind today. I was about to get started, and then one of my neighbors stopped by and wanted to drop off some stuff for the kids. So I had to have do the neighboring thing. I like having nice neighbors and being in good standing with my neighbors. I think it's important. I think having a good neighborhood is important. Especially if you like having a safe neighborhood. I like having a safe neighborhood. I like keeping it safe. I like creating a community where we watch out for each other. So it's nice. We don't live in like the worst neighborhood, but we're adjacent to some bad stuff. Like the second you leave my neighborhood, it's nothing but drug dealers, prostitutes, and the unhoused or homeless, as we used to call them. My neighborhood's not bad, but like literally, 100 yards or like 200 yards from my house is like the edge of where it goes bad. And then sometimes that stuff tries to come into the neighborhood, and you just gotta redirect it sometimes. So thankfully, I'm good at it. I'm good at being respectful to people, but also, drawing a line in the sand. We get a lot of kids from an adjacent like apartment complex that can come to the neighborhood and try and cause problems. And it's rough because they're just kids. They're kids that no one's paying attention to, and you just have to try to be positive with them and give them a different kind of route to go and have like honest like conversations with them about what their behavior is going to lead to. And they're just dumb. I got a dumb kid fall over my fence the other day, like joking around, but also trying to be hard that he was strapped. It's like, dude, you shouldn't say that. One, you shouldn't say that to somebody on the other side of the fence because that gives them ample opportunity to get, guns out. Two, you shouldn't say that because that's assault, and it's assault with a deadly weapon. So you open yourself up to being shot and the potential of somebody getting away with shooting you because you threaten them with a deadly weapon. A lot of kids and a lot of people don't realize that if you tell someone you're going to shoot them and you are in proximity and you say that, oh, I got a gun, it's like, I can kill you now. I could literally pull out my knife and justifiably stab you because you told me you had a gun and threatened to shoot me. Like, that's dumb. Still wearing white ties says, man, kids are different these days. They're just dumb. I don't think they know. They don't understand their rights. They don't understand the laws. They've seen things on movies. They think it's funny to say, and it's like it's not funny to say, dude. And especially like when you're a kid and you're causing problems, and you're gonna say you have a gun. I'm not gonna necessarily respond by calling the police because I know you're a kid. I know you're being stupid, but somebody else might. And if somebody calls the police and they're like, "Hey, there's this gangbanger in my neighborhood, and he just threatened to shoot my neighbor, and he said he's got a gun," the cops are gonna roll in heavy, and that's not good. That's how kids get shot for no reason. It's a very dumb thing to say. Now, if they were dealing, I'd be more inclined to believe that they had a gun. But they weren't dealing. They're just kids being dumb. That same day, they were gonna jump some kid. One of the kids, this other kid was with, and these are like high school kids, but had this other like pretty girl with him, and they wanted to impress the girl by jumping the guy. And I just went out there and told him, no, you're not gonna do this in this neighborhood. You want to go do it over there in the apartments, that's fine, but you're not gonna jump him right here. I'm not gonna watch you guys beat him up. And then one of the kids wanted to be mouthy and step up. And I was like, so I'm like, the difference between me and you, man, is that I walked up to three of you by myself, where it takes three of you to walk up on one person. So maybe think that through, that we're very different people from a very different background. So, and then they try to act like they were hard and gangsters. And it's like, you're not, dude. I grew up around gangsters. You're not impressing me. You're not scaring me. And that's the funny part, is like watching people try to act like they're hard or be gangster that aren't. Because it's like, when I grew up in that situation, they wouldn't have warned this kid. They would have just jumped him. They would have just rushed in and beat him up. It wouldn't have been like trying to act like they were gangster. If they were gangster, they would have already done it. What's sad is when they grow up and want to be fake gangsters. There's this guy that comes through my neighborhood a couple of times, and have had him leave a couple of times. Just, directing him out of the neighborhood in a positive way, letting him know where the boundaries are. But like, he tries to act hard, and every time, like, You brace him, he takes off. And he's like 40 plus years old. It's like, why are you still doing this, man? White Tie says, I was just a different kind of kid, I guess. Well, it also, I mean, it has to do with like kind of like where you grow up, though, too. You know, I went to a not great school, and how, you know, for the most part, like when you look back at statistics, like the time I was going to school, you know, late 80s and 90s, the early 90s, that was like one of the most violent times in our country's recent history, where they were like recording crime stats and stuff. A huge spike in crime and violent crime. But now it's different. Like we hated kids that would act tough and then wouldn't deliver. You know. And you could only back down like one time, and then you were done with. Nobody was gonna take you serious. White says, wasn't a tough kid myself and didn't act tough either. Oh well. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, as long as people weren't hurting you. I didn't really have a choice because I was always the youngest and the smallest in my class. So it was either, you know, get beat up or fight. And I just chose to fight, and then I turned out I was good at it. Plus, we had my dad gave me the biggest edge in that we did wrestling and taekwondo, and this was like 1993. And in 1993, like the UFC wasn't a thing, mixed martial arts wasn't a thing. So most guys would either fall into the category of never having any sort of training, or they would do like karate or something, and definitely wouldn't be doing wrestling as well. Well, we got both, and man, I was so much better at fighting. And then when kids only get into like one or two fights, I had the advantage of sparring, so the idea of getting hit and hurt was kind of lost on me because you know you get used to it, and when you're wrestling, you're constantly wrestling, so it just makes a you know a huge difference. White says looking great. Dixie Vixie says, "How are you, handsome? What's up, Dixie Vixie? I'm good. How are you? How's school?" Been all good here as well. We'll finally have learn how to manage your time. Oh, I manage my time, man. My time management skills are not fantastic. but having kids makes it harder. Lectures are tougher and assignments are coming up. Oh man. Do you have like long lectures? Dixie Vic says, what are those, right? Did I ever tell you the story about how I had this class? It was a history class that started at 10:30, and I had like work before that, so I was always rushing to class, and I would like be like 5 minutes late on the regular, and kept being late. And then one day I walked into class, and I was there like almost on time, but everyone was like sitting down, work doing a test, and they were so far into the test. And then I was like, man, how did everybody get this test going so fast? Like, it's crazy. And then the teacher's like, oh, there's like 10 minutes left on the test. You have 10 minutes. And I was like, 10 minutes. And thankfully, history is a subject I'm good at. So I was still able to finish the test in 10 minutes and do a good job. But then after turning the test, I looked at the kid next to me. I was like, hey, man, what time does this class start? And he's like, yeah, 10 o'clock. And somehow I had like screwed up mentally, and for weeks was coming to this class at 10:30 instead of 10 o'clock. And as soon as the class was over, I went and apologized to the teacher, and he was like, didn't you realize you were late? I was like, yeah, but I was late on top of that. So I just assumed I was, extra. I just assumed I was just late. And thankfully, he let me stay in the class because he could have kicked me out off of that. But I also always participated. So like I answered questions and stuff, which I think helped. Made me more of an asset to the class than a distraction, maybe. Because at the school I was at, he could have kicked me out of the class, or he could have also dropped me a letter grade. And he didn't do either one, so I was very grateful. Dixie Vic says, doesn't matter what time I wake up, I'll always be late. 30 minutes late every time is crazy. LOL, says White Tie. Yeah, it was crazy. I just was grateful that he didn't drop me. I have managed to like never be really late to work. I've only ever been really late to work one time, and I'd gotten like some really bad news before going to bed, and like super troubling news. And I stayed up late thinking about it, couldn't sleep, and I forgot to set my alarm, and that was very frustrating. The only other time I've been late is when a drunk driver hit my parked car. So I had to be at work at like 11 o'clock, I think, or 10:30, and like I was getting ready, and I heard an accident, and went out. It was actually my wife's car, but this like drunk driver had plowed into my wife's car. And then the only part about the story, White Tie says, hate to admit it, but I was chronically late in early adulthood. A lot of people are, I think. But so I go out to my wife's car. It's been hit by this car, and I take a look at the damage in the back. And I'm walking around the car, and I look at the front, and the front is damaged as well. And I told the police officer, I asked him, said, was there a third car involved? And he's like, no, there wasn't a third car, just here 2 cars. I said, okay, but there's damage to the front of my car. And the officer looks at the front of the car and is like, no, that's old damage. That was already there. I said, no, officer, it wasn't there. It's my car. I can tell you this is fresh damage. He's like, nope, that's old damage. That there's not another car involved. And he like walks off. And I can't believe this. I'm like, I was so irritated. And I look around and there's a bus stop right down the street. And there's another car right in front of the bus stop, which is a red zone where no one parks. And that car is damaged in the back. So I told officers, like, do you think maybe that car was in front of my car? And they look and they're like, oh. And they go down like, yeah, I guess there was a third car. It's like, thank you for calling me a liar. That's great. I appreciate that. Good times. I was very annoyed though by his assumption. All right, I'm gonna do one more quick set and then I gotta go. Like I said, this is gonna be a very quick one, unfortunately. It's funny because we're all talking about managing time, but like I said at the beginning, one of my neighbors stopped by and we had to have having a conversation. And again, it's very important to have good neighbors and who stay on top of things. All right. I have to take off. But thank you guys for coming by. Appreciate it. I gotta go wake up my kid, who we're in the middle of potty training, and going down for a nap. They asked to not wear a diaper because when they still sleep, they would have a diaper. So this is gonna be fun to see if they've gone to the bathroom or not while they were sleeping. This is gonna be like Schrodinger's cat. There's a chance they've gone to the bathroom, and there's a chance they're not. What's up, Copa? Copa says, I'm already here and awake. I'm sorry, Copa. I'm going to split. White Tie says, have fun doing that laundry. Huh. Yeah, well, it's like do the laundry and then clean the mattress. It's a lot of work, but it has to be done sometime. It's gonna happen. So, all right, I gotta go. God bless you guys. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it.